What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Ripped, Rattled, and Rose podcast. This is the place that we have authentic conversations on mental health, womanhood, sisterhood, and purpose. Of course, it is your gracious host, it's Rose, and I'm going to always say thank you at the start of every single episode because you guys are so encouraging and you guys are inspiring. Like when you guys leave me inboxes on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, giving me like your testimonies, like that is it's fuel for my soul because the whole purpose was to create a community for us to be, learn, and grow. And I think that we always think about, how much better the world could be if this was like that or that was like that. But like, what if we all took inventory of ourselves on a regular basis and made it a point to work on ourselves and become better, opposed to blaming outside things for how we think, feel, or act. Mm-hmm. Um, so that's my little 2 cents. Welcome back, guys. Thank you. Keep listening. Thank you for your amazing ratings. Keep doing that. I appreciate it so much. And sometimes I'm telling you, like I'm juggling so many different things that just knowing that if I only reach one person and it's beneficial, then that's enough because that's what it was for. And I can't front. Like the episodes that I did originally, that we did originally, it seemed like they were so long ago. So, you record and you just put them away, you record and put them away. So when I send it to the engineer and they put them on, do what they're going to do, and it goes out, I listen to them and I watch them just like everybody else. And honest God, it's been beneficial for me too. So I am not only grateful for you guys and the feedback, but I'm proud of myself and the content that's been going out because it has been a lot of women that has been willing to be vulnerable about who they are and why they are, and I don't know, it many more things are more beautiful than that. So anyway, this episode is titled, "Are You Grooming a People Pleaser?" Or were you groomed to be a people pleaser? Very early on, like when I started, I wrote out so many topics. I don't even know like where some of them came from, but they ended up being like very, very good topics. And I think that I originally wrote this one because I felt like people pleasing was something that I struggled with for a large portion of my life. And then when I was reading about people pleasing, I learned a lot of things that I don't think that I knew originally. Maybe because I never really looked into it. Maybe because you hear the term and then we all have like opinions about why we think a thing is a way. But I was, I guess I kind of knew that people pleasing was a trauma response, but it was a little bit different when I read it. So I did read that people pleasing is a form of a trauma response, and it's usually done so that people can avoid negative emotions or experiences like abandonment and rejection. So that can look different, and it can, it comes across differently because the kind of homes that we grew up in and the environment that we were raised in, depending on our culture or what was normal for us or society, that plays a part in how much we felt like we were able to organically be ourselves and grow, or if we felt like really, really judged when there were mistakes made. So, depending on like ethnicity or gender, some people's job or spouses, it's picked out long before a person ever takes their first breath. And it's cultural, in some, countries, their children do not watch a whole lot of TV. And they do a whole lot of studying. And before they ever take their first breath, it is known that this person is going to be a doctor because the first 4 or 5 generations before them were. And, for I guess like a kind of rebellious, but I want to be me person, that is a difficult environment to just be in because you're constantly being told that how you are, how you feel, what you think is improper, is not right. And depending on like how that's meant, because some people are, lectured, some people are maybe disowned, Some people maybe just feel ostracized and like they're not a part of the family, and that presents differently in all of us. I think that sometimes I feel like I spent a lot of years like spending on like this kind of like I'm like in full throttle people pleasing and then like full throttle rebellion. But the more that I came to like really, really know myself and love myself and then nurture the parts of me that I felt were not celebrated, um, therapy and just being around healthy people, it really, really helped me be more comfortable, like being who I am. And it's the same thing with my children. Like I don't tell them, what to do. I don't want to make major life choices for them. I want them to make their own choice, and I want them to know that all choices, whether good or bad, like and we all pray that our children don't make choices that's so detrimental that it may cost them their freedom for the rest of their life or it can cost them their life. But when it's not those kind of choices, then there are experiences that you get to learn from. So yes, you may not have had the outcome that you want. No, this is not something that you anticipated going through. However, these are life skills. This is a life lesson. Like this does not have to be all bad. I feel like every single thing that we experience, we get to extract from those experiences what we want, and that can be the good or the bad. I think it's just a choice in like what you choose to focus on. So I do feel like being extremely self-aware. I am really realizing that there are not like people that are self-aware. They're self-aware on purpose. I'm realizing that that's not a very common thing amongst adults. Like a lot of us have these people or personas or images, I don't know, of who we want to be, and not necessarily that aware of who we are as people. Now, because I am not crazy, I do. I try to do my own inventory, but I also ask people that are around me on a regular basis that experience me in different atmospheres, so they can tell me, like, yeah, you little stank when you did that, or when you sleep, you this way, that way. So I'm more aware of how I come across because what I want you to experience versus what you actually experience may be two different things. And I think that it takes a level of emotional maturity to be able to honestly hear how other people experience you and not let it like deter you from being you where you want to start putting on, but enough where you can start put some corrective measures in so that you are presenting in a way that is how you wish to be displayed, a way that honors you, your brand, God, your family, whatever. I was also very, very surprised when I learned that there was like this whole 3-page article talking about how people pleasing can be manipulative as well. I don't think that I ever would have associated people pleasing with being manipulative because it just seems harmless, right? Like most of the time when you're around people that are people pleasers, they're super easy to get along with, right? So there's not really any arguments because they kind of go with the flow. They are really agreeable. They overly extend themselves, whether it be their time, their resources, their whatever. And for I guess the people that they're trying to impress, that may seem like a blessing, but in those kind of situations, the time spent that's being taken from somewhere. So maybe it's a blessing to the job, but the family took the hit. Maybe the resources spent. Maybe it blessed whoever, but then you can't buy your children clothes or shoes or things like that. So I feel like it can be very problematic because you're overly extending yourself, and you're not the only person that's taking the hits for the choices. And if your emotions are driven by the need to please other people, like, oh my God, it's so um, dangerous and intoxicating. And it's almost like idolizing the opinions of things and people outside of you. And it's like, it is a vicious cycle. And it has no bottom. It has no end to it because, I mean, people have need more syndrome and they need more, need more, need more. I realize, and from my observation, the people that I talk to, and people that I really enjoy being around, it seem like people that really know themselves. They're really good company. They just relax. They are a wealth of information. They're not afraid to share the information because they're not afraid of other people doing better than them. But they're not like giving too much information because they're not trying to come across like big shots. They're just like being themselves, and it is I don't know, like it's a blessing to be around people that are unapologetic who they are. Even people that I don't necessarily care for. Like even if you're not my cup of tea, but if you're always that person, then I appreciate you. Because at least then I know how to handle you, you know how to handle me, you know what to expect from each other. It's like people that's like that cannot. No, I can't. It's too much. It's frustrating. It's no, you ain't gonna take me on emotional roller coaster with you. Um, and then also, I was really, really surprised when they said that people pleasing can be manipulative because you never actually get to know that person. You never really get to know their thoughts. You never really get to know their feelings. You never get to experience the truth down. And sometimes because you have not experienced that and because they just seem to have a lot of the same desires or core values or belief, then it's misleading. And you think that because you and this person have been like going along for however long, is that you know a person that may not even exist. Like it's because what I realized too about people pleasing, like depending on who they're around, they change like the weather, and I can imagine that that's probably exhausting for them. But also, I would imagine that it's probably scary for people that's supposed to be in intimate relationships. And they're like, "Where's your boundary? Like, how far does your people pleasing go? Like, to what extent will you go on to put on airs? Like, how much will you give before it gets to be like dangerous for the other people that's involved that don't want to be a part of this in the first place?" So I guess it's just a matter of like how close or far you are from the person that is doing it. I know that when I was struggling with people pleasing, I didn't have a lot of joy in my life. I didn't feel um, content, and I was resentful a lot. I was because I was, like overly extending myself and doing things that I don't necessarily want to do, go places that I necessarily don't want to go. And then when other people have boundaries and they say no, now I feel slighted. And I think part of me feeling slighted had to do with feeling like I guess not having boundaries was non-negotiable. So I think that on top of feeling slighted, I think I was a little bit envious, like, oh wow, that person gets to say no, and or I can't, and the people around them still love them. Honestly, if I am going to be completely honest, it was my younger sister. Like I can't even remember what situation it was, but I know that she said no. Very chill, very matter of fact, and that was the end of it. And I was like, I think that a lot of my desire to please things and people outside of me, well, one, I think that being a middle child may play a part in it somewhat. And then two, I've always been extremely perceptive. Like I can come in the room and feel other people's energy. And I don't know, like who told me it's my responsibility to, try to make everybody happy or I don't know, but it was not a healthy thing. And when I say that, my relationships took a hit because I had unrealistic and unspoken expectations of people. I not verbalized why I was doing what I was doing. Not even sure if I really knew. But I also was holding them to a standard that they never said yes to, not even aware of. So I think that I know we grew up in a generation where it's because I said so. I don't think because I said so that beneficial when you're trying to assist children and just like you're guiding them, not governing. you're guiding them because they still, children need guidance, you know. We all need guidance. That's why we have a Heavenly Father. But like you want to govern, you want to guide, not govern. So governing is like trying to rule or take dominion over, and guiding is saying like, well, what do you want to do? Well, let's look at that. You know, like not mandating you to do or be a certain kind of thing, but also knowing that it's not going to be a route that is without hiccups and that is without mistakes. Like that is to be expected, but we have to normalize mistakes. Like let's not overly penalize young people because I think it makes them sneaky and then it makes them ashamed. Like so when they make bad choices, they feel shame. They don't bring it to you now because there is this ostracizing or hazing. I already feel bad about the choice I made, and then I'm not saying that we make so light on it that we have kids to just run around here doing whatever. I'm just saying that there has to be a healthy balance, and I think that it's per child because every child requires something different. We all need different things as far as emotions go and what makes us feel safe and secure to just be who we are, and how whatever happens in our home, like it shapes how we show up in the world. And I wonder if we just took that in consideration more, what we be more mindful of what we feed in our homes and what we start, because it does make it plays a huge part. I was reading Erickson's the psychologist, his chart, and he was saying that identity versus role confusion really happens between ages 12 and 20. And that was a long time, especially when you have a child that you feel like is acting crazy and you're like, I'm going to choke them to death. I think I think it's something to take into consideration. Is this child is trying to figure out who they are. They're going to probably have some moments of rebellion. But I think that in most cases, when people feel heard, including our children, including the people that we take care of in our jobs, including people that we feel like are part of our ministry, when they feel like they matter, not how I appear to the world, but me, my emotional being, my mental state, me as a person, when I matter, the way I show up in the world is different. You know, if you are talking to, so I'm in patient care, and if a patient has an issue and I focus on whatever is not being done, and I completely ignore that this patient, like this is like an emotional thing, like this, the choice that was made was attached to something else, and what I know, in the medical field, a lot of times it's fear. So when we're making decisions based out of fear, then we're usually in fight or flight. But when you allow them to have a moment to think, or maybe even because you're talking and you have a dialogue, like maybe you can learn more of what they're afraid of or what they're concerned about, and maybe you can pose questions and give advice in ways that they probably wouldn't have been able to come up with if they just let that problem be theirs. But there has to be a space for it. So and listen, it's not a easy thing for me, especially having the oldest son is 23 and my daughter is 8. Like that's a huge age difference. And thank God they can't read my mind because sometimes I'm saying some awful things in my head. But I try to remember what I needed when I was their ages, and when I was making decisions that were not in favor of my future, that did not honor who I was as a person, as a woman, as a mother. I needed something. I didn't know how to verbalize it, but I needed somebody to care that I wasn't okay. Like I needed somebody to that it mattered. Like not like yes, like that the choices are not good. But I don't know. I guess I wanted somebody to notice that I was in pain. And when they didn't, it was like disappointing. And that kind of, I guess, it communicated to me, like even though like I'm an adult now and I realize that you have to communicate what you need. But I think that because it wasn't noticed, then it kind of communicated to me that it didn't matter. But I think that that's why, in our best efforts to create environments that promote dialogue, conversation and honesty and honesty. And it's okay. Like, even when we don't agree, it's okay. But as long as there's truth, then we can deal and we can work with that. I don't want to raise deceitful children. I don't want to work with deceitful people. I don't want those kind of people to handle my affairs at the bank. I don't want those kind of people to change my oil at the place, because when you're operating in deception, it's all about gain. So that means that you have to disregard everything and everybody else around you. And I don't know, like I just feel like we should just kind of try our best to just be good people, and just remember, like in the most trying moments in your life, the hardest moments in your life, the times where you didn't feel like you were going to make it from one day to another, what did you need? What did you need? And then try to like be that for somebody else. And when I ask myself, like, what did you need to not feel the need to please other people at the expense of yourself? Because that's why people pleasing is so dangerous, because it's at the expense of yourself, your respect, your dignity, your time, my God, your talents, your resources. Like, it's always at the expense of something. People pleasers make you disregard what you need. And there has to be a healthy balance with that too, because it's a very selfish culture. I just feel like when we raise emotionally healthy people, I feel like the world is just a better place in general. And we have to learn what emotionally healthy looks like, because I mean, I feel like we're all learning it. I feel like we're all evolving. I feel like maybe some of the coping strategies that we used when we were younger in life, like um, maybe they don't benefit us today. But I do believe that in our best efforts, and not just in our homes, everywhere we go, like if you're the supervisor at your job, like your ideas should not always be the ideas that we go with. Like, you need to allow other people to weigh in and, give you advice, because just because you have the most seasoned and experience don't mean that you always have the best idea. Like, yeah, I think that the people that is in position to govern and rule, yep, you should make it a point to make sure that everybody's opinion, thought process is heard, and try to make sure whatever they propose is at least tried. Because everybody needs to. That's how you believe in your own choices. That's how you feel confident in yourself, because you're taught that. You're taught that, like, when you grow up, like, you know, make make your own decisions a little bit. And that's why I said that we need to guide but not govern. And I mean, even I really feel like my daughter taught me this more than anything, anybody. Like, allowing her to pick her own clothes and her own hairstyle. Like, sometimes I'm just so frustrated, like, oh my God, that does not look good together. She'll remind me, like, I mean, what does it matter? You said as long as I'm comfortable. And I did say that. I mean, I don't necessarily appreciate her using and pulling me, but it reminds me that it's not so much about what she is wearing that I don't think matches, or have no idea why she thought it was a good idea. It's about the fact that not only is she advocating for herself to me, it assures me that she'll be able to do that when she goes out in the world. And not only will she be able to advocate for herself, but she'll be able to follow through on unpopular decisions, because oftentimes every choice that you make is not going to be celebrated by the people that you want to celebrate it. But all of us have our own paths, and I think that we all have those seasons in our life where Jesus talks to only us, and I think God does that on purpose, because that's where our faith is tested and stretched and grows. And those are those moments that you remember back on when you're in like uncertain seasons in your life, and just remembering that through it all, the good, bad, the ugly, God does not. And then Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, And even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So I think that this is powerful because what it is saying is the seed that is planted, like you know how they say like seeds are in the ground, and oftentimes we cannot see that what's happening when it's being watered and when it's sunlight. Like we don't see that they're starting to sprout out and they're growing and they're getting better and they're getting bigger, but they're under there and they're growing and we don't see it. And sometimes when the wind blows or the rain is too hard, it looks beat up, but we don't even know if it's still coming out. But those seeds that were planted, they will flourish. And I know that it's the stuff that was planted when I was a young girl, about um, just just being a woman, or you know, a young lady. Those things that even when I abandoned them for a while, I went back. I went back. So we have to be um, more intentional about making sure that the foundation is good. Yeah, that's what we definitely have to make sure the foundation is good, and then you're choosing. I mean, seriously, if you don't appreciate you, if you don't value you, nobody else is. They will allow you to overly exert yourself. They will allow you to take on everybody in the world stress. Um, they will allow you to exhaust your money, and you will not. And I pray to God that you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, and not because you are trying to get something because you're going to let down. You know, folks will take what they won't give, and that's not anybody's fault. It's not like that is a fault of the person that have not set boundaries or the person that has are doing things and they have unspoken expectations and they didn't say. I feel like that's like the quickest way to break your own heart is to have needs and expectations inside of yourself, um, and you are the only person to know it. No, I'm just not. It's not very healthy to me. Um, and then creating boundaries, like okay, when you are younger, like we all know, like when you're younger, you're more available. Life changes, seasons change, and all the time, who you are or what used to work for you is not going to be the standard. And if it wasn't one season, you want to follow it up and you want to do it over, you have the right to do that. You have the right to do that. I always say boundaries will expose people that are in your world, not to see what they can add to it, but what they can take from it. Because those kind of people do not like in or respect them. And they're takers as well. So when you implement a boundary, people that have respect for you and love for you, they don't honor your boundaries. Even if they don't agree with it. I don't agree with all the boundaries that the people in my life have. Like some of it I think is silly. I don't. But out of respect for them and love the relationship, I would never ask anybody to disregard what makes them feel honored, safe, protected, to appease me. Like, no. Like, to me, that's like a telltale sign to get away from that relationship and, like, don't look back. It's unhealthy. It's okay to choose you. Like, I know that still feels weird for me, too. It still feels weird to me to not weigh up how like, oh my God, what is everybody gonna think? And just like really ask myself, what have you been through? What has this been like for you? For you. Start there. What have you allowed thus far to keep the peace? What have you settled for to keep the peace? Has it really kept the peace? Is everything and everybody else at peace instead of you? Because if that's so, then that's a problem as well. So, in short, when raising little people that's going to go out in the world, allow them to be who they are. Affirm them. Affirm them. We don't want to just correct our children when they're messing up or when they're doing something that we don't like. And let's tell them how great they are. Let's speak into their future. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Let's say to them what God says about them. So they can grow up and believe in that instead of, thinking that they are the choices that they make, thinking that they are their mistakes, because that's not okay, right? Not okay. The word no is not blasphemy. It's a very healthy word. No. No explanation. No. Mm-mm. Not having that. No, I'm not coming. No, I'm not staying. No. Get used to saying it. I mean, it's uncomfortable at first, but after a while, it's very liberating. Say no. And whoever can't handle it, come take it over God. And then, like, when you are the adult, when you are the teacher, when you are the supervisor, when you are in the point of power position, encourage. Encourage those who you are responsible for, who you take care of. Encourage them to give their piece, to speak their mind, to give their truth. And when you can, and they give you an idea, implement it. And when it's dope, do not take their credit for it. Like, pray, like, let them have that moment, because I feel like that's what good leaders do. And you don't need to suffocate the people that's under you. That's what good parents do too. You don't need to suffocate your children. You get to nurture them and allow them to grow. Yeah, I feel like that's a healthy environment. And when you do that, your children are better able to celebrate one another. They're not in competition. It's not settling rivalry. They're healthier people that's going out in the world. Yeah. So that is all that I have on are you grown or were you raised to be a people pleaser? That's it. Let's affirm our children. Let's affirm one another. Let's work on ourselves and try to be as healthy as we can. I promise, like, every time I work on one thing and I think I got something, it's like, oh, yeah, there you go. But this us, you need to work on that. Yeah, you still have to work on that. So, but that's okay, because who's better hand to be in than the Father's, right? Like, God is amazing, and He is this. I don't know. He has this way about Him that He takes the most challenging, unforeseen things, and somehow He makes it beautiful. Not even, sometimes you don't have to get to the end, like in the middle of it. He makes it beautiful. He highlights. He mesmerizes. He teaches us, like, how strong we are when we rest in Him. Yeah. So, yeah. You guys make sure that you rate this episode. Message me about any other topics that you guys want to have. Yeah, and you can follow me on all of my social media with Rattle and Rose Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. It is your girl. I am.